Okay, welcome everybody to this extraordinary meeting of the Masterton District Council. We'll start with the karakia.
Kia
Are there any conflicts of interest? Conflict of interest, Councillor Bowyer, on good aeronautical charges. Thank you. Anybody else? We have a late item, as you could see, on property disposal. Could somebody move, please, that in terms of Section 46A of the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act, that this item be dealt with at this meeting in public excluded. Moved by Councillor Johnson, seconded by Councillor Holmes. All in favour? Thank you. And then we go to page 6, Hood Aeronautical Charges Review. Is that David? David is going to take that. Thank you.
Thank you, Bishop. It's a combination of staff have contributed to this, the paper and the whole review, but I'll take paper as read, but I'll just give you a quick highlight. It's a review of the landing charges at Hood Aerodrome. Under the Civil Aviation Act 2023, we are required to consult when we change landing charges. The Council did consult and made a decision on the 11th of June. That decision differed from the proposal that was consulted on, and so we have consulted again, contacting the users again and given them the Council's decision. We received 5 submissions on that second round of consultation. Those submissions are listed in the paper as our officer responses to those submissions. There's a revised set of charges based on the Council decision and slightly changed to respond to some of the submissions. That's attachment 2 to the paper. All aircraft owners at Hood will be contacted asking if they want to pay the annual charge or they revert to per landings. So depending on whether they consider their usage justifies paying the annual charge. The T-Val collection of aircraft will be charged a bulk charge, and the Model Aircraft Club a nominal charge. Other than that, the charging regime will be annual charges or per landing charges, as set out in the document. So I'll take questions.
Any questions for David? Councillor Nelson?
Just the one. In the recommendations, I'm not sure about this, but I vaguely remember the review being yearly. Or am I completely wrong with that? I think it was raised by someone for the whole cost structure.
I think the recommendation is for 2 yearly or 3 yearly. 3 yearly.
Yeah, within 3 years is the recommendation. I raised it, Tim, originally as a shorter time frame. Yeah.
But it's
we're recommending 3. Given the amount of effort to go through a review and consult, because there's a requirement to consult, and the small amount of revenue that results from that review, I think a 3-yearly review is what we would recommend.
Thank you.
Any further questions for David? Councillor Helena.
Yeah, thanks, David. Just can you describe or explain to me what access rights are to the airport or aerodrome?
The council owns the aerodrome, and people who have planes and rent hangars pay lease costs to the council. There are proposals from neighbouring landowners to build hangars or hangar homes where those properties can drive onto the airport and access the runways. They're not contributing anything to the airport other than maybe landing charges. So the potential to charge a neighbouring property access to drive across onto the council airport is something that we want to reserve the rights for and flag in any negotiations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lennon. Councillor Goodwin?
Can we, I mean, given the cost of this process, as we know, I mean, it virtually uses all the revenue we get, can we not put an inflation clause in so that we don't have to do it, where there's a local government inflation index applied to the fees, and then we review it every 5 years? Can you just build that in and get around that?
The inflation, when it's 2 or 3%, you end up charging a few more cents on a lending charge.
Yeah, but it doesn't cost the process. That's what I'm trying to get away with, is all our officer time, consulting time, trying to get away from that. And the amount of money, I mean, this is not a monetary, not the most monetary decision I've seen around here. And so if you could, you know, just put in the highest inflation index you could.
We'll look at the legal responsibilities under the Civil Aviation Act in terms of doing reviews and altering charges, so whether we can or not.
We can't. The legislation is quite clear that we have to consult every time we intend to increase the charges. We only have to consult with those 3 who we have identified are the substantive users. However, we do need to do that at least, and we made a decision this time around that actually consulting more broadly was the appropriate thing to do. So that's why we had the discussion and arrived at the 3-year rather than waiting for the 5-year, because then it wouldn't be so onerous for us to change those fees every year. But there's nothing we can do about the legislation.
I would have thought, but I may be wrong, that if you consult on putting an annual inflation charge increase, then you've covered your butt.
And that might be one way of doing it. We'd have to get a legal opinion on whether that's possible or not, but we didn't do that this time around, so that would be something that we could look at doing next time.
Or could we just look at it and delay this a few weeks?
We're into the new financial year and we need to establish who's taking up the annual charges.
Just look at it next time.
It's neither here nor here nor there what's going on here. I just trying to get away from what are we spending on this process?
But we
$40,000 or $60,000, and look how much revenue we're talking about. It's not.
Thank you, Councillor.
Councillor's best way of working.
So my question, as a follow-up to that, would be, we don't have to spend that money in the future if we do a 3-yearly review, because we might simplify the process and only consult with the 3 highest users next time. Correct?
We could look at that. We're required to review, as we said, under the legislation, and we conducted the review. We took the best advice in order to do that. So whether we, do that again next time around will be something we will have to consider.
But I would imagine too that it was more of a process this time because it hadn't been done for 14 years. If we keep up to it.
Yeah, that's right. I think also we might be able to do it internally next time. So it's
So instead of 40 or 60,000, it might only cost us 30.
it might only cost us $2,000, councillor.
I think you're exaggerating the figures also.
It's not making figures up.
Okay, somebody prepared to move the recommendations on page 6. Moved by Councillor Johnson, seconded Councillor Lennox. Any further discussion? Councillor Johnson.
Yeah. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge the work that staff have done on this, because I know that it had to be revisited. So I'd like to say thank you very much. And I've had a number of emails and phone calls from Hood Aerodrome stakeholders saying thank you for listening and thank you for working with us to reach compromise, but also to achieve some of the objectives that were set out. So thank you. My second point I want to bring up, which is not about the aeronautical charges, but is about the private access that you were looking at. I just want to strongly say that personally I wouldn't support adopting private access charges to the Wairarapa Aero Club. They have had unrestricted access to Hood Aerodrome for nearly 100 years. They originally sold the land to council for the Hood Aerodrome development, and their understanding is that that agreement gave them the rights to use the airfield in perpetuity. So they believe also too that they've exercised this right of use, and I'd like to support that because for a number of other reasons as well, apart from them having done it and had access to the airfield, but also too they're an incorporated society, they don't make money, they offer a service which is training pilots, they run on the smell of an oily rag, and I just think the private access consideration should be more for people who have bought private land and making a commercial investment, are a business and looking at developing or using the Hood Aerodrome facilities as an add-on for them to benefit commercially. So I'd just like to raise that and say that when we come to looking at that, I hope that there'll be discussion around that.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson. I absolutely concur with what you're saying there. I think they've got a completely different case than others have in terms of the access side of it, and I hope too that's looked at. Councillor Lennox, did you want to say something at all, the seconder, or not?
Oh,
It's up to you.
no, yes, of course, yes. I too follow on from Deputy Mayor's chat. I think also from a group of councillors' perspective, it was great to sort of turn this result around a little bit in favour for the users, which is very great, and 100% back Bex's suggestion around the discussions we'll have further regarding the Aero Club.
Thank you, Councillor Lennox. Councillor Holmes.
I don't need to say anything about what, because Bex and Stella have already said it about the staff, but I just feel what's happened is an example of we started off, I went to those meetings, Gary, you were there, and Bex was at one of them. They were fiery, and we hadn't consulted with them really. I don't like the idea of only consulting with 3. I think it's much more favourable if we can keep that liaison up with the HUG group, and they will tell us what's wrong. And I think, as it's turned out, the result's very worthwhile and very positive. Don't forget the Griffiths Rock. That was purchased, I remember when we bought it, it was purchased for hangar homes too. So there's that whole area there that could still be developed. And this is just the start. What's happened with the development at the airport is just the start of what's going to happen in the next 10 years, and I see a huge future with the airport. I'd like to congratulate everybody.
Thank you very much, Councillor Holmes. Councillor Helena.
Yeah, thank you. Like Councillor Holmes, I think if we're going to be consulting, I think it's the HUG group we should be consulting with, and that might just be one body, but certainly to not consult with that group would be a huge risk going forward, in my view, both for us and for them. I've got a question for Councillor Bowyer, and I know he's got a conflict of interest, but I'll be kind of interested in his response. Is he comfortable with the transient landing fees, and why or why not?
We're in discussion time at the moment, Tom, not question time. Could you...
Well, my question is, does Councillor Bowyer think the transient landing... well, it's not question time, right? I'm wondering if Councillor Bowyer has an opinion on the level of the transient landing fees. And also, I did have another question around the hangar and the hangar development and where's that at, but perhaps that can wait till another time. But very interested in the transient landing fees and have we got that right?
Councillor Bowyer, of course, has declared a conflict. I'm going to allow Councillor Bowyer to answer that if he wants to, if he feels like it doesn't put him in a precarious position. You prefer not to? Yeah, okay, look, that's fine. Yeah, okay. Any further discussion? No further discussion?
Well, Gary, can I just talk about that, because some of the feedback on that was that we're way above other similar aerodromes, and one of the guys talked about moving our a number of landings from about 9,000 to 30,000, and those transient landing fees perhaps being a huge obstacle for that. So, could be wrong, could be right, but how do we know? And 30,000 landing fees at whatever the price is now compared to 9,000 at the higher price, it just might not be a sensible decision. So hence my wonderings there. And I don't know. I haven't spoken to anyone about that.
Thank you, Councillor Lena. Okay, I'm going to put the recommendations on page 6, moved by Councillor Johnson, seconded by Councillor Lennox. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Right, we move now to page number 20, which is the Local Government New Zealand Annual Meeting remits. Stella will be attending this on behalf of us, and we need to give Stella some direction as to how to vote. What I'm going to do is we'll go through each of the remits and move and second each of the remits, whether we support or not support. Everybody happy with that? If you're not, too bad, because that's what we're doing. Tom, did you still got your hand up? Are you okay? Okay. Okay, the first remit, when I get to it, is improving joint management agreements with iwi and hapu. Any discussion on that? The recommendation is we support it. Somebody prepared to move? Moved by Councillor Tuta, seconded. I'll second that. Any further discussion? All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Remit 2, the annual adjustment of the alcohol licensing fees. Again, the recommendation is that we support. Any discussion?
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
got a bit of discussion, and it brings up what Brent was saying. This is, I support this, okay, it's good, but it's also part of the wider context of maybe we need to simplify some of the things we do. And I think this is a classic example of simplifying how we go about making those adjustments, if we can do them in-house or not. So, I support this, but I'd also like to see maybe a wider discussion. You could do this?
Yes.
That would be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Craig, you move?
Yes.
Seconded. Seconded Councillor Johnson. Further discussion? All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Number 3, aligning public and school bus services.
Can I just interrupt? I just may not be appropriate for me to second that, being on the licensing trust board.
All right, I'll second it. We'll go through the vote again. Craig move, I second. All in favour? Aye. Thank you. Remit 3, aligning public and school bus services. Any discussion there? Yes, Councillor Nelson.
Yeah, I'm not sure how this would have worked with the awarding of the contract to one provider over another one, but it would have been great if council could have had some input to supporting transit at local company at the time of the recent change, which was a government decision as opposed to a council one. So with council input, I think that sort of thing would have been avoided. Maybe I'm treading on dangerous ground here.
But not at all.
The
Councillor Lennox will be at the meeting, she can make those points.
Transit are a local company, they're a superb company, they've served us for 100 years or whatever, and to lose that contract in the place where they're based was appalling. So council could have had input at that time, it would have been really good.
Thank you, Councillor Nelson.
We might face a problem with this one because I work for transit. So this may be an issue.
Will Councillor Holmes be at the
Council-
AGM?
Are you going to be at the AGM, Councillor Holmes?
Yeah. So is somebody prepared to move that recommendation, support it? Move Councillor Bayes, second Councillor Johnson. All those in favour? Oh, sorry, Councillor Holmes.
Actually, what Tim's made a very valid point, actually. I think he really has. And what happened here, Transit lost the contract here, but they went up and bought the buses in Napier. So, yeah, I'm not too sure about this, actually.
This should be preventing that, wouldn't it? You know, it's council input. Am I right?
Yeah, but the council haven't had any input. This is what they want.
What we can do, that we've done in the past on this, is we can actually leave the decision on anything until the meeting and allow our delegates to listen to the conversation and vote whatever way they feel fit.
Yeah.
Prepared to do that on this one?
Yes.
Okay. And Remit 4, review of local government arrangements to achieve better balance. Somebody prepared to move that, support that? Move councillor Bayer, seconded. I'll second that. Any discussion? All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We then move to page... No, we move now on to public excluded. Somebody prepared to move... Yes, councillor? Councillor Kennedy. Harriet?
Sorry, Your Worship. The recommendations also include council's agreement to delegate to Councillor Lennox.
Yeah.
So
What's
we
that?
need to go back to the original recommendation and report.
You need to assign the jobs.
I'm sorry. We've got recommendations there, have we?
Yeah.
I'll receive the recommendation, delegates authority to Councillor Lennox, and if we could just put a dash Councillor Holmes, to vote in accordance with councillors.
I was just going to bring up that.
Everybody happy with that? Somebody prepared to move those with Councillor Tudor?
Yeah.
Seconded. Councillor Bayer. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Okay, somebody move, we move into public excluded. Move Councillor Holmes, seconded Councillor Bayer. All those in favour? Thank you. Harriet. We'll just wait till Harriet puts this.